Hello everyone and welcome. Let's take a look at Storyblok's Salesforce integration. This video will have 5 short sections: installing the plugin, adding the plugin to your space, setting up the API client, finding out the missing option values, and finishing the plugin settings. Let's start by installing the Salesforce plugin to your space by opening the Apps Directory menu item. Scroll down the Apps Categories list until you can see the Commerce category, then click on it. Search for the Salesforce plugin and click to open it. Now in the top right corner, hit the Install button to finish part 1. Note, to confirm the installation, just click again in the Apps Directory menu item. Go to the Installed category and click on it. The newly installed Salesforce integration should be displayed here. Once you have the Salesforce plugin installed in your space, you can now add it to your story by clicking in the Content tab and then choosing the story you want to have this integration configured. Now click on the gear icon to add a new field. For the field's name, I'm going to type Salesforce, but you can choose any other name you'd prefer. Change the field type plugin by clicking on the green AB button and selecting the plugin option. Click on the Add button, and the newly created field will appear at the end of the list. So click on it to proceed with the configuration. Scroll a little bit down until you can see the field custom type, and then click on it to select the SB Salesforce option. 5 options will pop up for you. All of them are required. For the client ID and the client secret, you will need to first have configured an API client in your account manager platform. For the others, you just need to copy these values from your business manager account. I'll show you next what you can do to get all these values. Let's now take a look at how to set up a new API client so you can have both the client ID and the client secret values. The first step is to log into your account manager platform by accessing the account.demandware.com page. Then, in the sidebar, click on the API client menu item. Note, you might need to ask your administrator for permission so this option is available for you. Once the page is loaded, you'll see an Add API Client button. Go ahead and click on it. Note, even if there is already an API client configured, we strongly recommend you create a new and exclusive one so you have more control over it. Now, you can give it any name you may want, but for example, Storyblok integration. You will need to now create a password. Note, as long as this is going to be the integration's client secret, make sure to save it in a safe place before submitting the form. Otherwise, you will need to create another API client since you are not allowed to have access to the password afterward. Now, scroll down a little until you see the Organization section. Click on the Add button and assign the organization you want it to have access to, and then click on the Save button. In the Roles section, click on the Add button, search for Salesforce Commerce API, select it, and hit the Add button. Next, you need to add a scope to this newly created role, so click on the funnel icon, select the corresponding organization, and then the instance you want this API client to have access to. Note, do not select the All Sandboxes option, otherwise the integration won't work. You need to select a specific instance. Scroll down a bit until you see the default scopes field, and for this one, clear all of its values. The next field is the allowed scopes, and for this one, you will need to fill it in with these values. Note, make sure to just have one scope per line. Now for the last change. In the token endpoint auth method field, select the client secret post option. Hit the Save button, and if everything went well, you'll be redirected to the API client listing page, where you can now copy the client ID of the API client you just created. Once you have the client ID and the client secret, you need now to obtain the other required values: the shortcode, organization ID, and site ID values. To have them, you should first log in to your Business Manager account. Note, please contact the e-commerce administrator if you don't have the URL address to access it. Now, navigate to the Salesforce Commerce API settings page by clicking on the Administration menu item. Then, clicking on the Salesforce Order Management Configuration option. Both the shortcode and organization ID values will be displayed to you. Copy them to update the plugin's options afterward. The last but not least value you should grab is the site ID, and for that, you can click on the Select a Site menu item, and in the displayed list, choose which site you want to fetch the products and categories from. Now you have the last required values. You can now close the Business Manager page and return to your newly created field in the visual editor. Let's finish the plugin settings by pasting all of the obtained values from the previous step in the correspondent plugin options. When ready, hit the Save and Back to Field button and close the model. If everything was configured properly, in the sidebar you will be able to see your new Salesforce field you've just added and an Add Items button. If you click on it, a model will open and a list of products and categories will be displayed for you. Select the products and categories you want to add to your story by clicking on each of them. Once you finish selecting them, click on the Done button in the top right corner. Now, to have the items persisted in your story, you just need to click on the Save button.